Oh, Mr. Babbage, the national media is running wild like Hulk Hogan.
It's that time of the year. We get the manufactured media takes. The clickbait is rolling. People are buying in. It's off season.
But don't you worry. Don't you worry at all. Because the Writers Roundtable is here to straighten you out. Okay. So we got Cody Carpentier on the show. And we have Ahaan Rungta. Cody's went to the Senior Bowl. He's going to have all kinds of insight for us there. Ahaan, it's kind of like the number 5 hitter in your lineup, solid, consistent, good for some RBIs. So I'm excited. So yeah, are we ready? Are we ready to do this?
I'm speechless. I need the takes from Cody and Ahaan, and I need them now.
All right. The Writers Roundtable starts right now. Gentlemen, what's going on? How we doing? What's happening?
Fellas. Appreciate you having me on, man.
It's been way too long since I've been on a show with Cody. I'm so excited for this one. Perfect opportunity to do it.
Yes, indeed.
We're here.
Well,
we're here.
I tell you, we got some good topics tonight. I tell you. So
do we have some good topics, or are we just going to talk about the elephant in the room?
Well, we could start there if you want. I have it in the show sheet.
I'm just fucking with you.
But
we're not trying to hijack the whole show.
We're going to you go for it. We're going to talk about everything you need to know for your Dynasty leagues right now. I mean, Cody's here, so we're going to talk rookies. We're going to get his insights from the Senior Bowl and from the Super Bowl Media Day. And, of course, we're going to have bold predictions, and we're going to talk about, I don't know, something related to Justin Fields. So, but let's hit it off hot and heavy, all right? Let's talk about this little – I know this is unscripted, but we're just going to do it. The whole Justin Fields gets traded rumor. What do you think, Cody? Your thoughts? Is it going to happen? Is Justin Fields going to be playing for another team this year or next year or whatever?
Justin Fields isn't going anywhere. It's all fugazi. That one thing that came out a month ago, and they're like, oh, they might trade him. No, they might not. They won't. They will not. The only other locker room he's going to be going to is the new one at Soldiers Field, or whatever the hell they call the new stadium when they transfer over, whatever they end up doing with the whole situation. He's staying in Chicago. Bottom line is. And he's the answer. He's the guy. But the thing is, we talked about this pre-show, if you're tapped in, you're listening, Dane Brugler and Lance Zierlein from The Athletic, they talked about this situation. And the best way to lay it out is you have to do your due diligence as a general manager. Otherwise, you won't have the job. You'll get fired. You won't last. And they have $1 billion in cap. They have 1 billion picks. So you have to do your due diligence. If you have the number 1 overall pick, you can't just be like, yep, this is the guy. Trevor Lawrence isn't there. Even if Trevor Lawrence was there, you still have a quarterback in Justin Fields that would have set the all-time rushing record from the quarterback position last year if he would have played the whole season. Literally would have set the record. We wouldn't even be having this conversation. I don't think people conceptualize like, oh, this guy literally could have the rushing freaking record. But the bottom line is you have to do your due diligence. They have the number 1 overall pick, and you have to be like, hey, what's it worth? And in order to do that, it's kind of like you have to check out what Bryce Young is, check out what all these quarterbacks are, and maybe throw a little bullshit rumor out there, which is, hey, we're going to draft Bryce Young. And then that makes somebody think that you're going to do something. And it's all fugazi. It's all part of the process. It's early February. We got 2 months till the draft. And there's going to be plenty more bullshit over the next 2 months.
That's exactly right. That's why we're here. We got to cut through the bullshit, and I said it on Twitter, and it's my new barometer. If I hear anybody talking about the Bears should trade Justin Fields or Bryce Young over Justin Fields, you're on the list. I'll be Chris Jericho. You just made the list. I'll reply to every single list.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm going to be running around and creating a list.
You just made our list, our player profiler list.
Was that not like the best when he would do that? I'm like, well, I'd be like,
that bit was
he just
so
made the
awesome.
list.
And the one day he was chasing around Seth Rollins because he stole the list. I mean, an incredible bit from an incredible entertainer.
Throwback right there.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Ahaan, anything to add to that?
And my issue with the whole Justin Fields thing is like, if you're going to pick a year to talk about all this, like they're going to trade Justin Fields talk after he just had the run he did, is can you at least do it a year when there are good quarterbacks available, like not Bryce Young as the ceiling? Like that's my only issue. At least when I clickbait, I'm right. Come on.
Yeah. Here's the problem. All right. Here's the problem with all these theories. I'm going to tell you, right? I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but when the cold weather hits, Justin Fields gets the sniffles and he can't run as fast. All right. This is real thing. So the Bears cannot get that dome soon enough in Arlington Heights. All right. But when so they get this dome, Justin Fields is going to be just fine. But until then, we are screwed. I tell you what, because I don't know if you guys know this, but his completion percentage actually went up in cold weather. He's at 60% for his career, give or take. And then Cowherd or some media member had 60. He's like, oh, he doesn't play as well. And he has 61%. I was like, hold on, let me do a little fact checking. It's actually better. And he was making this whole case about how Justin Fields is worse in cold weather. Oh, he's 1-7 or whatever, or 0-7 in games below 40 degrees. You do realize the Bears were 1-7 in one possession games last year. So how many games could have gone either way?
You forgot QB wins is the most important stat on the box score.
Yeah.
So have you thought about that?
Yeah. Just, Peyton Manning sucks. Trevor Lawrence sucks. John Elway's terrible. Steve Young, they all suck, guys. That's the whole point of why do we even do this? Because if you're terrible in your first year, coaching changes. I know it's technically his second year, and he's has, I think, 25 starts under his belt. So, again, we got coaching changes and no weapons on offense outside of Mooney and Kmet. I mean, what are we doing here? I don't. And he played at Ohio State, where I'm sure there was never a cold game ever.
Flashback to when I posted the bait tweet. I don't know how many of you saw this, but I decided to do the rare thing, which I do like once a year, which is post a bait tweet and posted separation graphics of Equanimous St. Brown and who's the other? Byron
Dante
Pringle.
Pettis. Dante Pettis.
Dante Pettis is a legend.
Yeah.
He won me money, but I won't throw him under the bus. But Byron Pringle, and I said, Justin Fields has all the weapons, guys. Like, there's no excuse. And people fell for that bait, so I'd rather not talk about national media rest of the night.
All right. We won't. I promise. All right. We're moving on. That's it. I've been cut off by the bartender, the Justin Fields analysis bartender. All right. Let's talk Dynasty, shall we? It's that time of year. So, Ahaan, a bunch of my leagues have officially rolled over, and I can make all kinds of trades. What should I be doing right now in my Dynasty leagues to set me up for success in 2023?
Well, evaluating the rookie class first and foremost. I know even if you aren't the college football savant that Cody is, you can use Player Profiler resources to catch yourself up on how all these college athletes are doing. And I'll let Cody do most of the talking on the Senior Bowl and who's rising, who's on the rise up, who's trending down. But Breakout Finder should be coming at some point soon from Player Profiler as well. And the Breakout Finder absolutely balled out in 2022. Had a bunch of great calls, such as Christian Watson is really him. We never gave up on Christian Watson around here. The real ones stood still, held Christian Watson, and he's one of the players I want to buy high on, if it even is a buy high situation. But also just targeting good players regardless of situation. And it's around this time of the year with the clickbait national media titles or whatnot, with the rumors of Derek Carr sitting at dinner with Robert Saleh, stuff like that. Situations are going to be back and forth pretty much the entire offseason, and these things don't really mean that much in the long run. Good players find a way to be relevant. Bad players find a way to go away, like Gabe Davis. So got my Gabe Davis mention in. So target good players, sell high on players that are likely about to fall off a cliff. I'll give you some examples. There's uncertainty around Jacoby Myers. Where is he going to play? Chicago Bears a top destination for Jacoby Myers. But a lot of teams are going to want a very underrated route runner, an elite player, considering how people value him around the league. So buy in on the uncertainty. If there's someone who's worried about Jacoby Myers going to a bad quarterback situation, buy in on Jacoby Myers. The man is good. Buy high on Christian Watson. Buy Calvin Ridley if whatever the cost really may be. Most of the costs I'm seeing around rumored for Calvin Ridley is just not enough. The guy is good at football, and he's going to be tied to a quarterback that could win an MVP next year. Buy Breece Hall. I think probably all of us in this room think that if there is a player that could bounce back from an ACL tear and still be Himothy, still has top 5 upside, it's Breece Hall, best running back prospect since Jonathan Taylor, and continue to sell players that just don't have ceiling, like Marquez Valdes-Scantling. We saw what he did with Patrick Mahomes. Like, now is the absolute last opportunity you're going to get. They're going to add more weapons to that team. Sell Ezekiel Elliott if someone's worried that Tony Pollard is finished, and Zeke is going to somehow land this workhorse role because he's not that guy anymore. So sell guys like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Ahaan hit the nail on the head there. And speaking of player profiler assets for Dynasty, took a look at the trade finder and the trade analyzer today, prepping for the show. And speaking on some names Ahaan just mentioned, Calvin Ridley, I saw a trade for Calvin Ridley for a 2023 second round pick, 9th overall, and a 2026 third. I'm in on that price. I see some pretty cheap prices for Calvin Ridley, see some very cheap prices for Jacoby Myers, often uses a throw-in in trades. So if you can execute a trade where you can get Myers as a throw-in from your league mate, that's awesome. So Ahaan hit it. You got to evaluate where your team stands as well. Are you a contender? Are you a productive struggle? Or are you a heavy seller? And really, depending on which one of those 3 you are, you got to go full into that game. You got to go full into that strategy. So you got to capitalize on the uncertainty that we're going to see in this year's draft class, especially now. The closer we get to the rookie draft pick is where you can maximize the volatility of the value that a lot of these players like Jacoby Myers, who are unrestricted free agents, or maybe some cap casualty candidates, you can capitalize on the volatility of their value, and you can really make out like a bandit. Cody, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing right there. You guys both mentioned it, and it's the veteran aspect, it's the rookie aspect, and it's the understanding your team aspect, where you know where you're at. You either came off a championship, you came off a shit season, you're middle of the pack, whatever it was, you got to know where you're at, know what you need to do to fix it. And it's just kind of a self-evaluation thing. You see a lot of people out there that have like consultation. Oh, I'll consult you on your team. Well, this is like time of the year where you should be consulting yourself on your team and figuring out what the problem is, what the issue is, and where you can get better. And I think one of the ways you talk about the veterans and the rookies, this is the 2 spots where it's not really that hard to really diagnose your team. Diagnose the player, though. Isaiah Hodgins, for example, you're talking about the trade finder. One of the easy ones is I loved Isaiah Hodgins. Still like him. But I understand that the situation is situational. Galladay's probably gone. So it seems like, oh, Hodgins is the number 1 in New York. A lot of things can change in New York because of free agency. Danny Dimes, Saquon Barkley, who knows what's going to happen? We assume they're going to be back. We don't know. Hodgins seems like the number 1 guy there. But Shepard should be back. Richie James, Wan'Dale Robinson should be back. They should draft somebody. Dan Bell, like all these things can go into it. I'm looking on the trade finder right now. Isaiah Hodgins goes for a late second round pick. Sign me up every day of the week. Guys like that you added for free in the middle of the season that may seem like they're getting an elevation really aren't. And they're probably just going to stay middle of the pack. Like KJ Osborne a couple years ago. KJ Osborne in the deepest of leagues is going to help you. Isaiah Hodgins in the deepest of leagues might help you. But if you're getting a second round pick, those second round picks, those darts are way much more likely to hit than a 4th rounder or keeping Isaiah Hodgins on your team. You see guys like Dameon Pierce last year fall into the late second round. You grab him right there. Boom. Looks like that. You have a league-winning running back instead of a receiver. That's just kind of like wide receiver 3 on his team as far as talent goes. That's, I think, the big thing is just realizing guys in situations that seem good, that you can take advantage of other people in your league. Of course, you talk about getting rid of old veterans like I don't know. You look on here, some people are Brennan Cooks, Zeke Elliott, guys like that have been traded. You talked about Breece Hall. Breece Hall was traded for Elvin Kamara and 2 late first-round picks this year. That guy, I love Breece Hall in that trade, to be honest with you. Although also we talk about the rookie thing, you should be accumulating draft picks, not trading them away. That should be your goal. If you can accumulate them for a value, you should be doing that. And then if you're going to trade them, wait until the day of or the day before the draft to do that. The other thing is sophomore tight ends, Trey McBride, for example, guys like that, even Greg Dulcich. I just got Greg Dulcich in the 10th round of a startup. I'll take it. I'll take those sophomore guys. Trey McBride going for the 312 right now. It looks like late third, a throw in with Austin Eckler trade. Like, throw in those guys, throw them in. Sophomores that had mediocre years that we still like, throw them in. I'll take them. That's just kind of where I'm attacking right now in Dynasty.
Yeah. I got another one. Daniel Bellinger would be nice, I think. Yep. Especially in a very uncertain Giants offense with maybe a whole bunch of targets. I think they keep Danny Dimes, so I think they keep that train rolling. Yeah, I can't agree more. Pick accumulation. If you didn't check it out, wait until this stream is over and then go check out The Mind of Mansion with Charles Chill. Great episode. They talk all kinds of Dynasty. Pick accumulation in general is the way to go this time of year, because trades for veteran players, and you guys can cut me off at the pass and tell me, Seth, quit talking, you're an idiot, are going to be there in August, right? Like, if you want to go trade for a veteran wide receiver like a Brandon Cooks, or if you think your team just needs a little bit more depth, if Zeke comes back to the Cowboys, like, I don't think he will, but if he does and he still has that role, that trade's going to be there closer to the season, right? And if you win at a pick accumulation mode, you're going to have the picks to go fill in some gaps, and you won't have to give up more than you should for a Zeke Elliott or a veteran guy that can help you out if you're a win now team. Now, again, you have to assess where you're at, what your strategy is, but in general, pick accumulation. Find guys like the sophomore guy. I mean, Daniel Bellinger, Greg Dulcich, these sophomore tight ends, perfect example. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. And let's see, we got Aaron Stewart in the chat. He's here. And we have, is this a question? Speaking of sophomores, any 2022 day 3 RBs you thinking will be worth going after? What do you guys think of that?
I mean, Pacheco's the easy one that comes to mind, obviously, but everybody knows who Pacheco is already. Jerome Ford's the other one for Cleveland. Kareem Hunt looks like he's gone, so Jerome Ford should elevate in that spot, assuming they don't go after anybody else in this year's draft. Zamir White is still in Las Vegas if Josh Jacobs is gone. I think Arizona drafts a running back, but Keontae Ingram looked good with opportunities. And then Treston Ebner, I think that's the number one right there. Sorry to steal everybody from you guys, but Treston Ebner, I think, with Montgomery likely out. I don't know if they spend any capital on running back, right? I don't think Poles. I think Poles learned in Kansas City, don't spend high draft capital on running. Don't spend high draft capital on running back, and sit there and wait for Isaiah Pacheco to follow you in the 7th, aka just roll with Treston Ebner paired with Khalil Herbert.
I was sitting there waiting to talk about Treston Ebner, but Cody's got that. And I'll mention the other guy. I think he's day 3, but my brain cannot process days sometimes. Tyler Algier. I have to give a shout out to my boy, Tyler Algier. I was big on him coming into last year and finds a role very quickly with Atlanta. 5th round draft pick. The breakout finder was a little higher than normal on Tyler Algier, given his draft capital. And we can see why now. 1,000 yards. So it's not a smokescreen. Keep buying Tyler Algier.
Yeah, I predicted, I think my bold prediction on last show was that the Bears would keep David Montgomery. And I'm going to stick with that because that was my bold prediction. However, there has been some news that apparently Ryan Poles likes fast players, and David Montgomery isn't typically the fastest of running backs. So very easily could be the Khalil Herbert, Treston Ebner, if they decide to go with another day 3 running back. That could be your backfield. And then all of a sudden, Ebner's in number 2 role behind Khalil Herbert. So I love that one as well. Mr. Babbage, Mr. Babbage.
I'm on mute. There we go.
Yeah.
Someone posted a pro David Montgomery tweet about going back to Chicago. And for the list of pros, it led with he's a good blocker. And I think if that's the first
great and pass
green flag that you label onto a running back, then maybe you should just like draft a fullback or something. I don't know. So I think, like Cody mentioned, I think Poles is probably a little smarter than that. And I do think we see David Montgomery walk, and big fan of Tristan Ebner. So we're kind of touching on some buys and sells already. We're in a little funky order here with the way we got the layout, but we'll start with Cody, since Ahaan already touched on a lot of his. Who are some of your buys and sells in Dynasty this offseason?
My big running back sale is Ramondre Stevenson. And similar reason to why I would agree with Ahaan just brings up Tyler Algier as an interest. If you look at the Shrine Bowl this year, the Shrine Bowl, the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons were coaching it. The Falcons asked for the big bruising backs. They already have Algier, so if they bring somebody else in, it's probably going to be a late pick. And they're all shit at the Shrine Bowl anyway for running back position. But the Patriots, this is where I'm taking this, is they were looking at scat backs. They got all the scat backs on the Patriots team, and they had all the bruisers on the Falcons team. All right, so the Falcons already have a bruiser, and they're looking at bruisers. And the Patriots don't have a scat back, and they're looking at scat backs. So what's that say? Targets decrease for Ramondre Stevenson. I think he was pushing 70 last year. Let's bring that number down. Let's get out on Ramondre Stevenson before it's too late. Yes, it's always nice to have a bell cow, but I don't trust that Ramondre Stevenson is the answer, and I don't trust that they really want to give him a rock-solid 300 touches year in and year out. That's my running back sale. Right now, in my wide receiver one, I know a lot of people like T. Higgins. I'm just not there. I think there's too much in this offense to really keep him up in the area where he's perceived. He's perceived to be this definitely top 10 guy, but often pushed into the top 8 as far as like projection, ADP, and things like that. And paired with Jamar, with Tyler Boyd there, Hayden Hurst is gone. They might spend a first or second round pick on a weapon, tight end, particularly. It's a good tight end class. I could definitely see them using a second round pick on a tight end. And it's just a lot of people to feed in that offense, especially when Jamar Chase is in that offense. And he's the alpha. He's the alpha, not T. Higgins. So those are my two, like, I guess, more well-known guys that I'm selling this year.
I think I've mentioned Trey Lance and Tyler Algier, or either at least one of those names or both of those names on every single show this year. So I'll throw those names in out there again and say continue buying them. Trey Lance is going to be that guy, and even if he's not great for fantasy, he'll be just fine when he plays. But two other names that I've touched upon before to buy, Trey McBride. We have brought his name up a couple of times today. I generally look for the tight end position players that are extremely athletic, and situation-wise as well, you could have some free targets after DeAndre Hopkins is on his way out. So both situation and talent-wise, Trey McBride is someone I want to buy. Another wide receiver that's not seen much love this offseason, despite some shifting in coaching, is Michael Pittman. The dude is still very athletic. The dude still is a route winner. And did he have a great season last year, regardless of quarterback situation? No, he had some bad drops. But as soon as you start chasing drops, you're going to limit yourself a lot. Remember when Jamar Chase couldn't catch a ball? Yeah, I do. So I'm liking Michael Pittman a lot this offseason. Sell-wise, it's time to drink some haterade. Derek Carr is on all these dinners, and he's potentially going to upgrade team, and all of a sudden, Derek Carr is the answer to everybody suddenly becoming a Super Bowl team. These storylines are really cute, but is the situation going to get much better for fantasy than throwing to Devontae Adams and then sometimes Darren Waller, etc. And being on the Raiders where the defense was bad, they were always playing from behind. I'm not sure Derek Carr is the answer at all. And he's being priced in a lot of places much higher already, assuming he's going to a better situation. And I don't see it. And again, use the trade finder, use a trade analyzer to see what you can get for Derek Carr. And if it means picks right now, then do it. Also, just selling older players who have reached their pinnacle already and they're looking back, like Dalvin Cook. We all love, or maybe not all, but a lot of us love Tykavius Chandler. Alexander Madison could be in the mix as well. But regardless, Dalvin Cook is probably past his apex. Keenan Allen. I saw a tweet earlier today from my friend Michelle Modjuk, Ball Blast him on Twitter, where she posted player A, player B, the targets, the receiving yards, the touchdowns over the last 2 seasons, all very close to each other. And one was Keenan Allen, the other Jacoby Myers. Very similar stats over the last 2 seasons. Yet Keenan Allen, because he's tied to Justin Herbert and because he's made Pro Bowls, he's priced much higher, and I'm not buying it. He's started to have some injuries again recently as well. Very reliant on volume because he's just not separating anymore. Even the little bit that he used to, he's not doing it anymore. So sell Keenan Allen. And then speaking of buying good athletes at tight end, sell someone who is a kind of mediocre athlete for his position and might see some more target competition in the upcoming days. Dalton Schultz. I think we saw the absolute peak for Dalton Schultz when he was the second option in the Dallas offense last year.
Yeah, love all that. Mike Gesicki is my guy this offseason, right? If you need a tight end, I mean, you look at him, look at his profile on playerprofiler.com. It's off the charts.
Wait, let's not get this.
What'd I do?
I don't talk about Justin Fields. You don't talk about Mike Gesicki.
Oh, hold on. I'll say Matt's gonna. Did I get my notes confused with Matt's notes here?
I don't write notes on that.
Where's my Justin Fields bit? Oh, I already said that. Dang it. What do I do? Buy Justin Fields in Dynasty. Oh yeah.
Circle the table. Circle the table. Come back to Justin Fields.
Yeah, that's my sweet. It's my sweet spot. It's my comfort zone. Justin Fields and the Bears. But I think I heard somebody talking about this. It wasn't me, but there's a really good chance Keenan Allen gets cut or traded. If you look at the cap space, he's to my right. Anyway, I'm not going to do directions.
To the other side.
He's to this way. Keenan Allen. I don't think he's going to be a Charger. It kind of breaks my heart, but I think, and it's really hard to see a better situation for him, not with Justin Herbert. Like you look at the teams with cap space. The Bears, I mean, if you think Justin Fields is good, maybe Keenan Allen could play for the Bears. They need a wide receiver, but it's Justin Fields, as much as I love him, he's not as good as Justin Herbert, right? That's not as good of a situation. Like the Giants, Daniel Jones, not as good as Justin Herbert. So anyway, you kind of slice this, I think Keenan Allen's a sell. He's past the AJ Pex as well. Let's see here. I'll talk about Miles. I think Miles Sanders is a sell too.
Big time.
I think there's a really good chance that he is out of Philadelphia. I think it's a foregone conclusion.
Do you have a landing spot for Miles? Do you have a landing spot for him?
No, but he's going to be making about $2 million a year, wherever $3 million, maybe. I don't know.
I think he's going to be one of those guys that just sits there.
Yeah.
And then this Kamara, this is where I projected him. This graphic's going to come out on Instagram. I projected him to go to the Saints because I think he's just going to be sitting there unpaid. Jacobs is going to get a bag. Sanders is going to be like, well, who the fuck's going to sign me? And then Kamara might get suspended, or they're going to presume he's going to get suspended. Then they're going to give him 1 year, $2 million, and he'll go down to New Orleans and be that guy, which I don't think is great by any means because I don't think New Orleans is going to be anything this year. But I agree 100%.
I've accepted this the world where we all agree Miles Sanders goes to the Dolphins. So I'm finding this conversation intriguing.
I believe I wrote him to go to the Bears on a cheap deal to replace Montgomery, where they feature Herbert a little bit more. If he's sitting there, I feel like the Bears would be willing to give him more than 1 year, $2 million to come onto the roster.
Yeah, man.
Out of just sheer, like, we have $98 million cap space and we have to spend so much of it. So why not give Sanders $7 million instead of paying Montgomery what he wants, or $5 million, whatever it is? I don't know RB numbers.
So do we got Herbert too low or too high in Dynasty? We got him at RB 36 right now. If you think so, Matt, you think that he's going to? God. You think they're going to bring somebody in? Seth, you thought they were going to bring Montgomery back. So both of you guys assuming Khalil's not the guy.
Well,
I think they're that way. I'm heartbroken to say it, but it appears that's how I view it.
It's a good thought experiment because I think because the Bears have so much money to spend, money that they have to spend, I think they could view him as a locker room guy, as much as that's going to frustrate fantasy football players. So that's why I think they're going to bring him back. I think he's a leader on that team, but that has nothing to do with, bringing in a more talented player, which they could definitely do in the draft, but I don't think Montgomery is really going to cost them that much. So it's like, would you pay Montgomery $4 or $5 million? Or are you going to bring somebody else in for 2 or 3, or draft another guy that's not going to know as much and is not going to be as good of a leader? That's my thought on it. So however, I still think Herbert's going to have a pretty big role on the Bears. So I think 36 is probably about right. So I still think if Montgomery's there, he's still going to get 40% of the snaps, probably going to be 60-40 if I had to guess. But so yeah, that's a good thought experiment. But anyway,
I still think it's probably about equal likelihood that they bring in a vet versus throw a 4th, 5th round pick at somebody. Just really depends on how the market plays out. And I think with the running back market, especially, we're going to see a lot of interesting moves play out, similarly to the receiver free agent class last year.
Yeah, so this is kind of what we've been talking about. So Kevin says, what free agent RBs do you think get opportunity? I think we're collectively down on Miles Sanders. I don't want to speak for everybody, but if David Montgomery stays in Chicago, I think he's about the same as he was this year as far as value goes. I think he could be somebody other teams look at. We've mentioned Pacheco. I mean, we've kind of answered this in a way.
What do you think of so Philadelphia's got a running back hole if Sanders leaves. And this guy named Kareem Hunt is available, and Jamal Williams. Do either of those guys fit in Philadelphia? I put Hunt
Jamal,
there. I put Hunt
Jamal
there.
Williams fits.
Jamal, I was going to say Jamal too.
I mean, if they're not going to allow Jalen Hurts to jump over some people to get a yard, and they're going to allow Jamal Williams to do it.
Devin Singletary, if we're going pure in between the tackles, goal line running back. Hey, I mean, with what they produced last year, do you really think the contract value between Jamal Williams and Devin Singletary is going to be that different?
I mean, you're not wrong.
Jamal was the touchdown.
Exactly.
He was the touchdown leader, but your point still stands. Like,
we don't have to say it. I mean, you're not wrong.
Back.
All right. So Aaron's saying Keenan Allen's going to stay, and Aaron knows a lot about the cap. So, I mean, maybe he's got something on his sleeve. I wish I could talk to him right now. Somebody is going to Denver and the Saints.
I just Googled what he just typed in. I know it was his opinion. He put breaking news Keenan Allen, but I just typed in Keenan Allen Chargers. Keenan Allen cut rumors should have Bears interested. Which is what you said a minute ago, but I just he always wears a hoodie to those games. I always visualize him now wearing a turtleneck over the hoodie now if he goes to Chicago.
Yeah, I hope he likes the cold. I hope he doesn't get the sniffles like Fields. All right, where are we at, fellas? Where are we at? All right, Dynasty Truther time, right?
Ooh.
Yes, Dynasty Truther time, and we're gonna start with Ahaan. Who is your Dynasty Truther? Who's the guy that nobody's talking about that you have on your team? The Podfather, Ashton Dulin, famous at this point. So who's your Ashton Dulin?
Well, I'm glad you gave the Ashton Dulin transition. It's obviously a wide receiver, and it's someone I've bet on this year at plus 1,700. It's someone that I've brought up on this show before. The man is still young, 24 years old. Elite athletic profile on player profile. His closest comp is A.J. Brown. And I think I've dropped this nugget before. In 2021, he was the only NFL wide receiver with at least 4 yak per target, at least a 20% red zone target share, and over 41% route win rate versus man. I cherry picked it, yes, but if you remove the route win rate, it's 4 names, and it's Cooper Kupp, I believe AJ Brown, Jamar Chase, and then this guy. And of all receivers with at least 75 routes run, he was number 2 in yards per route run. Only Tyreek Hill was higher. The Panthers hired Frank Reich as head coach, Thomas Brown as offensive coordinator. The offense is going to look different. Give me a full package, full year. Well, pause, but full year, a full year of a larger usage package for Laviska Shenault Jr. The man is athletic. The man is a solid football player. I would like to see more than checkdowns that he just houses every time. I'm not saying he's ever going to be an alpha outside wide receiver. We can agree that's not what he is. But if Greg Dortch can find relevance by getting 9 targets a game, Laviska, who's better, should find relevance. And this free is the absolutely lowest you can buy on Laviska Shenault, which is right now.
Yeah, I gave you about a half second to catch yourself there. I'll give you credit. Ahaan is on Kevin Durant level of self-awareness, so he never lets no one fly that he doesn't correct. You heard me cut off Seth. Apologize. Didn't mean to
no, yeah, I forgot
like that. But
no,
we got
50-50.
We got some bios cooking for Player Profiler. We got some my guys and some truthers. Give you a little sneak peek. My truther since the day I was born was Mike Gesicki. Like Seth said, he has the best athletic profile from workout metrics for a tight end in Player Profiler's database. He's had a 50% slot rate in 2020 and 2021. So 2021 was with Jalen Waddle. Mike McDaniel comes to town. Tyreek Hill gets added. Naturally, he gets bumped down in the pecking order. But he was definitely underutilized in that offense, especially given the passing game struggles that team saw later in the year, even with Hill and Waddle on that field. His highlight reel of circus catches is Mac McClung-esque. Makes you think, wow, I did not know white people could jump that high. He had a 23+% air yard share in 2020 and 2021. And he had 100+% true catch rate. So catching all of his catchable targets in 2 straight years. He's a talented tight end. We had this discussion on a different episode. If you flipped him with Dalton Schultz on that Cowboys offense for the past 2 years with the volume Schultz was getting, the discourse on him would be just a complete 180. They'd be a complete flop in value. And now Gesicki's an unrestricted free agent. He gets to go wherever he pleases. And he's going to find a situation, hopefully. I hope that he can pick out a good situation. But he's going to get a situation where he's going to get featured more. And we're going to see a offense that's devoid of pass talent, that has no choice but to funnel targets through their most effective pass catcher, which is its tight end. And that team could very well be the Houston Texans, who may have a new quarterback this year, may not, but they might have. If they don't have a new quarterback this year, they're getting Caleb Williams next year. So I'm gonna roll Mike Gesicki all day, every day.
The Tegan Quatoriano disrespect. Oive.
Who?
Exactly.
All right. I'm going to roll with the quarterback 30 in the Dynasty rankings right now, ahead of Brock Purdy, ahead of Sam Howell. And when I look up my rostership, which this tool will be coming to Player Profiler in the next 365 days, FYI. And you plug in your rosters from MFL, from Sleeper, from all these Fugazi websites. My most owned quarterback is Jalen Hurts and this guy, 26%. Now, quarterback, money throw, One of the big reasons why I like him so much is not because of the money throws, because of his legs, but the money throws there. The money throws were there. And even though he caught the most hate from everybody this year, when I look up money throws, and this is my favorite stat for quarterbacks. If you don't know, now you know. During the charting process, we chart money throws, we chart accuracy, all these different things for quarterbacks that maybe goes unrecognized. So Patrick Mahomes, for example, was 4th in money throws this year with 35. 35 divided by 648 pass attempts, which was number 3 in the league, is 5.4% money throws. Now, Josh Allen was 9th in money throws and 8th in attempts. 27 divided by 573 is 4%. Sorry, 4% of money throws. Now, this player had 5 money throws, 4 of which came in one game, one single game that I believe he was like, what was it again? The completion percentage was 31% completion percentage against the Kansas City Chiefs on 16 attempts, and he had 4 money throws in that game while throwing the ball to Cody Hollister, Nick Westbrook, Chris Conley, and these 4 money throws were all dropped because they went off of their hands. This guy is almost an 8% money throw percentage. Malik Willis, he has the legs, he has the arm. Yes, he was raw. We knew he was raw coming in. Right? He probably didn't warrant that top 10 conversation from a year ago, but that whole quarterback class fucking sucked donkey. So we are where we are. Malik Willis in Tennessee. Now, the general manager in Tennessee is brand new. So it's like, hey, they're going to move on from him. That's what everyone thinks, right? Ryan Tannehill's gone. Malik's gone. They're going to trade for Trey Lance. They're going to go get this guy. They're going to go get that way. Well, they just cleared $42 million, and that was not to go get a quarterback. Because if you remember right, they still have Derrick Henry in that backfield. All right. Malik Willis, I think, has a good chance of being their guy going forward. They're going to at least trust him this year. And if they're going to blow it up, it's going to be a blow up after Derrick Henry's done with. They're going to keep riding this thing as long as they can. And I think another year, an offseason with Malik Willis being that guy, I think you can trust it in fantasy. I'm still there, 26% ownership, same as Jalen Hurts, which is some of the same conversations that people had. They hated on Jalen Hurts because of his accuracy, but he could still run. They hated on Justin Fields because of his accuracy, but he could still run. They hated on Josh Allen because of his accuracy, but he could still run. And they all improved year after motherfucking year. Ride or die, Malik Willis.
All right, real quick. We're talking about Malik Willis, who could potentially gain in value. I just pulled up the trade analyzer real quick because this was the first trade package I thought of. Would you rather have Malik Willis or a mid-third in 2023 Superflex?
Whoa.
Is that real life? Is that for real?
I think I'm looking at the trade analyzer right now.
Wow.
Holy shit, man.
Malik, man, if you can go make that happen.
The quarterback is not on the winning side.
I'll just say this.
Based on the results of the trade analyzer.
I'll just say this. I mean, if you've learned nothing, I tell my students this all the time. If you've learned nothing to this point, like if you've just been on your phone, had this in the background, not paid attention at all, that information right there that Cody just shared, and then Matt Babbage, came over the top rope and then clotheslined somebody with, yeah, go get Malik Willis in Dynasty, for crying out loud. If you can go get him for a mid-third round rookie pick, I mean, those are lottery tickets anyway. And Malik Willis in Superflex at the quarterback position has a profile that we're looking for that can score fantasy points, right? Rushing upside. Holy cow.
I don't even like Malik Willis, and I like him more than 23 third-round pick.
Exactly. Yeah. And that really just plays into everything we've said on this show, which is just maximize the value you get from the uncertainty, because I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty around Tennessee right now. For a moment, they thought they might get Brady. Tannehill's still floating around on their roster. So, yeah, I'm absolutely sending a 306 for Malik Willis. I'm pretty proud of myself for nailing that one on the head on the first guess. But
hey, Seth, I think you got to go change my 5th guy from Will Levis to Malik Willis.
All right, what? Man, all right. I'm a little disappointed that it wasn't Malik Willis to begin with, but it's okay.
It's Will Levis because it's a my guy thing, and it's like, hey, everybody fucking hates him for some reason, and
we'll talk about the red hair.
Yeah,
red hair. He would be cool if he didn't have red hair.
We gotta give Malik his due. He needs to be on that list.
Poor Andy Dalton. I mean, it's all because of Andy Dalton. That's right. They just, oh, he's got red hair, he's going to be Andy Dalton. That's what people think. It's dumb. But we got a wide receiver. We've been given a wide receiver, a quarterback. I'm going to give you a tight end. All right. Let me break it down like a fraction for you. Great profile. 3rd round pick. He's a great blocker. A lot of people compare this guy to George Kittle coming out, which, let's not go crazy with the George Kittle comparisons. Like, just because he can block well doesn't mean he's George Kittle. All right. I'm a Hawkeyes fan, so I might not be jaded about that at all. He's 22 years old, going to be 23. He's currently the starter, according to our lads. But even if he isn't the starter, he's got a clear path to playing time in 2023. New coaching staff. All right. New coaching staff coming in. He played above 50% of the snaps in the last 3 games of the season. Of course, I'm talking about my guy, Tommy Tremble, baby. Deep Dynasty League stash, tight end premium stash. Tommy Tremble caught a few touchdowns last season out of the University of Notre Dame. He's one of my favorite prospects kind of coming out of that draft. So, because he kind of reminded me of George Kittle, I'm not going to lie. But I wasn't going to go all the way there with that. But Tommy Tremble has always been one of my dynasty stashes. So what do you got? What do you think about that? Crazy?
I don't think they're going to bring anybody else in. So, I mean, that's the thing is like, I know you, the also thing is like Frank Reich also is in line with the athletic tight end, the non, 6'5", 265-pound tight end. He's in line with the Trey Burtons, the Goddards, the Zach Ertzes, and I think that Tommy Tremble fits right in that conversation. And right now he's sitting at tight end 47, which is hellaciously low for a 22-and-a-half-year-old 3rd-round tight end that hasn't really done a lot, and that's expected. He's 22. He's been in the league now for 3 years. Would you rather have – so Tommy Tremble's 47 right now. He's sitting next to 2 free agents, Hayden Hurst and Bobby Tonyan. I think I'd take Tommy Tremble over both of those guys. I think you can put him up into the conversation with, would you take Tommy Tremble or would you take Juwan Johnson?
Tommy Tremble.
Tyler Conklin.
Ooh, I'd probably Conklin. I don't know.
Irv
the
Smith.
upsides with Irv Smith, because I like Irv Smith, but
Tremble.
I feel like I'd go the opposite way on every one of what's every 1v1 that you just gave Seth. I'd go the other way.
All right.
So you're taking
That's why we're
Johnson
here.
as well. You're taking Johnson as well over Tremble.
I'm taking Juwan Johnson over Tremble. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm with you on all 3 of those then.
And I would take like a lot of people over Irv Smith because Irv Smith is horrible.
That's where, I'm getting. I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean, he's pretty. Yeah.
The Vikings almost took Kyle Rudolph over Irv Smith, and people forgot about this. They talked to Kyle Rudolph about rejoining the Vikings before the season started because they just were not impressed with Irv Smith, and then they made the trade for Hawkinson, and it was pretty clear right away what they wanted to do with a tight end, and they just couldn't do that with Irv Smith.
That was the same Kyle Rudolph that caught 3 fucking balls last year. With Thomas Patrick Brady at quarterback.
Oh yeah, that guy. I forgot about
And
that.
Bray out the entire year, basically.
Yeah.
Going against a rookie.
Yeah.
All right, where are we at in the show sheet, Matt?
We've been talking a lot about rookie picks. We just talked about apparently what a mid-third is going to get you. So we'll start with Ahaan. It's a kind of a vague question, so feel free to drive in whatever direction you want. But what are 2023 picks worth?
Well, I think this just ties back to, you can look at the trade finder, look at the trade analyzer to figure out the general scheme of what these picks are worth. I'll interpret this question differently and say that I think this class is a lot less flexible than the 2022 class. A couple years ago, when I started machining my way through my dynasty teams, I did not hold on to a lot of 2023 draft picks, and we'll find out soon if that's for the better or for the worse. I had a lot of 2022 picks. I had a lot of 2024 picks, but not a lot of 2023. I was freely trading them away because I do not like this class at all. I think it's very top heavy, especially at wide receiver, where it was absolutely stacked in 2022. There are about 3 or 4 names that I like a lot in 2023, and after that, I just don't know. There's a lot of value to be found on underdog drafts right now. We haven't talked a lot about drafting now in best ball, but this is the time where you can reap a ton of value. I'll talk a little bit more about a couple specific names later, but there's a running back that I'll mention soon who has first round draft ceiling, an incredible receiving profile. And if you are following along, you probably know who this is by now, but this dude is the RB18 by ADP right now in underdog best ball, and ADP 61 overall right now. And I think that's ridiculous. So I'm getting a lot of him right now. So I think the takeaway here is draft a lot of rookies right now because these prices are going to shoot up once they get draft capital. And if you're right about them being good players and picking up that draft capital, you're going to find the value now rather than later. And then another thing I like to do is look at line movement on Vegas for where these players might get drafted. And this could be somewhat of a segue into our next topic. But for example, the talk of town today has been Anthony Richardson, the quarterback. Odds to go number 1 overall. That opened at plus 10,000. On Monday, it was plus 4,000, and now it's plus 700. So the stock has been rising, and Vegas always knows a little bit more than us. Draft capital probably means a lot less for a quarterback than it does maybe other positions, but it's still interesting that his stock has been rising, and we all know he has the ability to rush the ball, and there are some good landing spots for him, including Houston, Carolina, Las Vegas, probably an interesting spot as well. So keep an eye on Vegas odds for where players might get drafted, because that's some insider info that you can reap for best ball, especially right now.
Yeah, when it comes to 2023 picks, I think a lot of people thought that they were going to be as good as gold. I remember a lot of people like, oh, you got to trade for 2023 picks. You got to get them. You got to go. I remember seeing like the gold bars on YouTube thumbnails, 2023 picks equal gold bars. I think maybe they're not worth their weight in gold anymore, but I'm still intrigued by a lot of these guys. I'm not as probably down as Ahaan is on the class. I mean, Bijan looks like Saquon to me. I mean, he looks really, really good. The Podfather, Roshan Johnson, which you should go check out. Anyway, here's my plug: theplayerprofiler.com all-in package. You can get the dynasty rankings, the rookie rankings, and you get it now. You get 4 months of it that you wouldn't have got in the summertime when you get it. So go ahead and get that now. And I can't mention this contest that's going on, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
Use promo code Seth if you're watching this right now. Use promo code Seth.
Oh, I can do that? I thought we were... Anyway, all right. Yeah, promo codes Cody or one of them. It doesn't matter. But so yeah, you got to go check that out. But I'm and if you listen to the Mind of Mansion with the Charles Chill and the Podfather, you'll hear him talk about some of these later round running backs, second, third round running backs, how there's a lot of these guys. Like Eric Gray is one of the guys that I've heard a lot of people talk about. Cody, Charles Chill, the Podfather. I mean, there's several running backs like that could be this year's Rashad White, Damian Pierce types that you can get later in the drafts that are going to be good values for you in your fantasy leagues. So there are some players out there like that. So that's why if I'm me, and I'm going to try to get all these second and third round picks that I can. I ain't trading away Malik Willis. I promise you that, not for a third rounder, but I am trying to, liquidate some of these veterans that maybe I could trade for in August for the same price, maybe. So I just want the flexibility of the pick. And, Scott Connor talks about that anyways, but go check that out when this is over. But you got to wait until the end because we got some good stuff at the end. Cody, I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
2023 picks. Ahaan prefaced the number one overall pick thing. I will say one way you can interpret that is you said Vegas knows everything. Vegas also knows Will Levis may not throw a football over the next month at his pro day or at the NFL Combine next week. It is still interesting to see Bryce Young minus 150, number one overall, but that is obviously the number one shoe-in right now. If he was 205 pounds, he probably is the number one quarterback drafted. Levis moved up, though. I did see him move up from 850 to plus 600, then move back down as Anthony Richardson did move up. And I think one way you can interpret that, like I just said, Levis ain't going to throw a ball over the next month, likely. Richardson, on the other hand, should run a 4.44 in a week's time at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. That's a pretty knowledgeable thing right now, and that makes sense why they vault him up, because people are going to be way in on Anthony Richardson the minute he does run that 4.4, if he does run it. Richardson, I think, is a guy you need to focus in on for fantasy, similar to Malik Willis. He's got the legs, got better legs. He's got some of the best rushing skill. I think it's a combination of, and this is my Franken comp for Richardson, it's Kaepernick's arm in Cam Newton's body with Lamar Jackson's legs. That's really what Anthony Richardson is. And it's a terrible Franken comp to think about, because it's like, what the fuck is that? But it's what it is. His arm is horrible, but it's the body is everything that you're looking for right here with Anthony Richardson. And for fantasy, that's my number one quarterback for fantasy because of the ceiling. And you're talking about Justin Fields. We just talked about him for a minute. We just talked about Malik Willis for a minute. You're getting the legs with Richardson. Richardson, if he goes into a spot where he's needed tomorrow, he's going to break the rushing record, period, because he doesn't have the skill to throw the ball for 3,000 yards. He's going to rush the ball 14 times a game, and that's not going to be great, but he's got the body to withstand the pain for at least his rookie season, and that's going to be massive, massive for fantasy football. You talk about the rest of the class. Yes, wide receiver, it does not have quite the depth of the last couple of years, but it does have the top 5, top 6. I think you're looking at right there for the wide receiver position, but running back is really what takes the cake. Tight end's good, but running back is really where the cake is taken, and that's Bijan, that's Jameer, that's Roschon Johnson. Roschon, we just moved him up to number 3 in the rookie rankings. We entered Senior Bowl week with him at RB7, moved him up to 5, moved him up to 3. He's going to be parked in the number 3 spot. I don't not see him going anywhere else. When you're looking at athleticism, and we're obviously talking about next week, the NFL Combine is coming around the corner. I'll be out there with Alex Delnett from Roster Watch. When you're looking at athleticism, everyone's like Bijan, Saquon, Bijan, whatever, everybody else in this club, Jonathan Taylor, comparable. Again, we need to be talking more about Roschon, and I think if anybody listens to our channel more than once or twice, they know who Roschon is by now, because we've talked about him. At Texas, if you look at their testing in their athleticism, they have a hit stick score. Roschon Johnson is number 1 among corners, safeties, wide receivers, and running backs at Texas. That's counting Bijan. That's counting Xavier Worthy. That's counting everybody at Texas. 4,404 points. Second, 3,900. Bijan's number 4, 3,800. That's top speed times body weight. Top speed times body weight. Roschon's 225. Bijan's about 216. He's 600 points higher. Roschon's going to electrify Indianapolis next week, and Roschon's going to jump in a lot of people's boards. We moved him ahead of Zach Charbonnet. People are like, "Why are you putting him ahead of the?" Again, listen, we got a mock draft after this with Maddie Kiewom here on the Player Profiler YouTube channel. Tap in, because Roschon's going to be the best draft pick you spend your draft picks on this year in the early second round of your rookie drafts. That's a guarantee.
Can we steal that hit stick score? Because that sounds like a metric I want to use all the time. That's incredible. A lot of great points here. The one thing I'll add to the conversation is a lot of times, especially with bigger YouTube channels and sharper, more active players, we forget that a lot of the average league is a lot more casual and a lot less tuned into the rookie class. I can call to my home league for this. No offense to any of them watching, but they're not as tapped into the college class. And these late round picks, and Seth hinted at this too, some of these late round picks, they start to get devalued more and more as this class starts to get overanalyzed. And a lot of the 3rd, 4th, 5th round guys in your rookie draft aren't getting the TV time that the 1st and 2nd round guys are. So you get a lot of people that don't know who these 3rd, 4th round picks are. And you can get pennies on the dollar, 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks on draft day even, especially if a player goes and a guy's sitting there, well, that was my guy, I don't know what to do. Guys like Trey Palmer, Tyler Scott, Israel Abanikanda, Even later in the 5th round, a guy I'll talk about, Chase Brown, who's injured currently, but was a Heisman candidate at one point, I believe he was leading the NCAA at rushing at one point as well. So I love getting late round picks on the cheap and taking shots on a lot of these guys. A 3rd round pick from Malik Willis, even on the opposite side. But once these guys start to get hype in the preseason, you'll see some major value windows. If you're in on Pacheco early, obviously he was a candidate that we were screaming to hold throughout the season, but you had the value windows in the preseason. If it turns out to be more of a faux candidate, we'll recommend selling. But a lot of major value spikes in those windows. We're running a little over, so we're going to run this straight into the next question here. We're going to fire it right back to Cody. Which rookies should we be paying attention to as we approach the NFL Combine? So we talked about rookie picks. Let's talk into specific rookies, and specifically which seniors vaulted their draft stock at the Senior Bowl.
Best case the Senior Bowl. Talked about Roshan already. Roshan jumped up very quickly. I think I can couple this back to the NFL draft. A lot of people right now, if you look at the NFL mock draft database, project him 5th, 6th round. Not so fast, my friend. I think he's going to be an early 3rd, if not late 2nd round pick. He's going to go much, much, much closer to Bijan Robinson than a lot of people expect. Tyjae Spears from Tulane obviously had that big 200-yard game against USC in the bowl game, 4 touchdowns. Tyjae had a great week at the Senior Bowl. Does he vault himself up into the 2nd round? No. Late 3rd, early 4th. He's got prior knee injuries going through his career at Tulane. And that's going to be a big question mark next week for medicals in Indianapolis. Tyjae Spears should be in that conversation for Dameon Pierce of this year, as well as Cameron Latu. Cameron Latu was one of my lowest ranked tight ends going into the Senior Bowl week. Raw dog, man. No knee braces, no taped ankles, no gloves, no elbow pads, nothing. Just out there playing tight end like a damn brute and making plays. He looked good at the Senior Bowl, had a great week. Wide receiver position. Big Michael Wilson had a great career at Stanford, very questionable career. Coming into the week, I was higher on him than Elijah Higgins, his counterpart at Stanford, where a lot of people were like, hey, Elijah Higgins is coming from Stanford. No, not so fast. Michael Wilson's that dude. Michael Wilson's a borderline top 10 wide receiver in this class, coming off of a Jones fracture they dealt with in 2020, 2021. And then Trey Tucker, Mr. Consistency of the week, is a little guy that it's obviously overshadowed by Tyler Scott from Cincinnati as well. Trey Tucker is going to be Mr. Consistency in the NFL, and he looked really good as well. Those are my 5 big winners from the Senior Bowl.
Nice. And I know, Cody, we're a little bit over. I might throw it back to you if you want to get out of here. Give us a bold prediction for the off season, so you can go do your draft with Maddie, get that mock draft rolling.
My bold prediction for the off season is not that Justin Fields is going to stay in Chicago. It's not that Malik Willis is going to be the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. It's not that Lamar Jackson's going to get franchise tagged or some stupid shit's going to happen with him. It's that the answer to the test is and always will be Will Levis. Will Levis is the number 1 overall pick by the Indianapolis Colts. And Bryce Young goes to Houston. And they compete for the next decade together. And it's not Trevor Lawrence that wins the AFC South for the next decade. It's Will Levis and the Indianapolis Colts. Will Levis wins Rookie of the Year. Will Levis takes the Colts to the playoffs. Will Levis is Himothy.com /Ahaan Rungta's mad. And Will Levis saves Jim Irsay from having a heart attack in 2023. Plus 850 for the number 1 overall pick. Will Levis.
Mic drop on his way.
That's
out.
certainly the boldest take we've had here on the show. We will give you that.
Wow, Ahaan, I think we lost. Oh, he's back. He's back. He's back.
If there's anyone who can call it, it's Cody.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I like the fact that the Colts are trading up with the Bears. I think old Irsay, I don't know. I think old Irsay's got his eye on Bryce Young, though. So I don't. We'll see. We'll see who's really in control there. Right? We're gonna find out because I think they're the favorites now to trade up to number 1. But
I think so.
All right, Cody. If you got to bounce, feel free to bounce.
I appreciate
Thanks for
you
coming
guys.
on.
I appreciate you, Matt. Appreciate you, Seth. Ahaan, it's good seeing you. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you, Cody. It's great having you on.
All right, go check out that mock draft that they're going to fire up here in a few minutes. Ahaan, I know you got some stuff on the Senior Bowl. Which NFL rookies vaulted their stock? I know you got some notes.
Man, first off, we shout out Ed and Aaron for the support in the chat, even when I say sus stuff. They always give me support, so shout out them. I think we need Aaron to make a clip of what just happened with Cody and Will Levis. Yeah. Anyway,
we do.
I'll throw out a couple rookie names. So the one I prefaced just a few minutes ago, if you haven't figured out who it is by now, running back Jahmyr Gibbs. Obviously, Bijan probably the first running back off the board, but Jahmyr Gibbs, possibly the second running back off the board, has first round ceiling. He's been rising lately, according to several mock draft gathering sources. His average draft position right now around 28 to 30. So looking like he is going to go to not just the first round, but late first round, probably a good team there if he does go there. 93rd percentile college target share, 60th percentile yards per carry. He has a crazy impressive receiving profile. So regardless of landing spot, I love his value right now, especially in best ball. But specifically, there are a bunch of specific situations that he could land in that I absolutely love for him. For example, the Rams, for example, the Eagles, if we see a void that needs to be filled with Miles Sanders going away. And this one makes me salivate. If Joe Mixon is out of town in Cincinnati, which he should be,
he is.
Feed me Jahmyr Gibbs to the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Mixon was getting force-fed volume in the red zone, and obviously a little bit of receiving work that he had to split with Samaje Perine because Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine are just both not good. Give me Jahmyr Gibbs with his impressive receiving profile, catching passes out of the backfield, behind probably an offensive line that's still not going to be that great in Cincinnati next year. So immediate 2023 league-winning value if he lands with Cincinnati. And then I'll throw out a wide receiver as well. His stock's been shooting up a lot lately. I think at some point he was plus 1,700, plus 1,800 to be the first wide receiver selected, now down to plus 900. Steve Smith's been hyping him up a lot lately, and rightfully so. It's Zay Flowers from Boston College, 93rd percentile college dominator, 89th percentile college target share, and a few landing spots that I absolutely love for him, like Jahmyr Gibbs. He can see immediate value in 2023 if he lands with a team like Philly, who really want to replace Quez Watkins, like the Chiefs, who really have nobody great outside of Travis Kelce. I am a Sky Moore truther. Somebody mentioned Sky Moore earlier in the chat. I love Sky Moore, but you can never go wrong with adding a player better than Marquez Valdes-Scantling with Patrick Mahomes and the Bills. A lot of Robert Woods to the Bills talk going on. How about Zay Flowers to the Buffalo Bills? And I mentioned the Bills also specifically because I see a lot of Emmanuel Sanders in Zay Flowers. Same 5'11" height, similar college stats, college dominator, low sort of yards per reception, but he was a target hog in college for good reason. So I like that comp. We don't have comps yet on playerprofiler.com. We will soon, but I like the Emmanuel Sanders one for Zay Flowers. So those are my two guys.
I do too. I saw that on the show sheet, and I hadn't heard or seen that comp before, and it was one of the I saw it immediately, and I was like, oh yeah, that he is a lot like Emmanuel Sanders. So I love that comp. Zay Flowers is one of my guys for sure. Cody definitely hinted at it, but I'm believing in Richardson and Levis, especially from a fantasy perspective. With Richardson, Cody touched on it. The legs are superior. He has superior rushing ability than Willis, and I think a lot of fantasy gamers are going to incorrectly call back to Malik Willis and how there was a lot of buzz to potentially be in the top 10, and then he ended up being a third-round pick. That's not going to happen with Richardson. The buzz is real this year. He's going to be a top 10, maybe even top 5 pick, depending on what the trade landscape is. But I'm believing in both of them in terms of fantasy. I like Tajay Spears. And one guy who I think has kind of gone a little under the radar, especially with how much talent is in this receiver class, I don't think we should forget about Keyshawn Boot just yet. He's got 4.37 speed, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he was a lot of people's number one wide receiver at the end of last college season. He had an off year where LSU was a horrible team that was lost. It had no identity, no direction, and had no quarterback. And while we don't love to have to make that excuse for receivers not drawing opportunity, especially when they're the only talented NFL upper echelon caliber receiver like Keyshawn Boot was. So it was a very disappointing senior season. But that 4.37 speed, the moment that happens in the combine, everything changes. We saw what happened to Henry Ruggs. He melted people's faces at the combine with his speed. He ends up getting drafted way higher than people ever thought he would. And so I really like Keyshawn Boot's upside as a prospect. I think he is risky, but with his speed at his size, I think he can very quickly, he can be one of those guys that gets picked at the end of this or the top end of the second. And he goes to one of those teams that, you know, when we saw T Higgins go to the Bengals or we saw Michael Pittman go to the Colts. So that dipping draft stock actually ends up helping him find a good situation immediately. As for Senior Bowl, I'm going to take this time to plug my Boilermakers. So Charlie Jones is a prospect that I actually am very interested in. This is not just because I went to Purdue. I did watch mostly every game, so I did watch a lot of Charlie Jones. But there was hype for Rondale Moore. There was hype for David Bell. Charlie Jones came in that offense and did the same thing. 110 receptions on 159 targets, 27% target share, 1,361 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns. That's a 40.5% dominator rating. There's no workout metrics up there. They're not going to be overly impressive, but we've seen receivers with his athletic profile succeed in the NFL. And almost all of those receivers that mimic his size and athleticism did not put up the college numbers that he was able to put up in his senior year. A lot of that's going to be with the chemistry that he's had with Aiden O'Connell since they played together in high school. But when he gets drafted to the Patriots in the 6th round and he flashes in the preseason, just don't be surprised. They're not exactly the same body type, but I said this a while back. I truly think he's the next Braxton Berrios. I think they kind of play similar, even though they're not exactly comparable in the size and athleticism. Well, they're probably similarly athletic in terms of not being athletic. But I like Charlie Jones. I think Payne Durham, I'm never going to be in on him in fantasy, but I'm excited to see where he lands from just an NFL perspective. I think he rose his draft stock by performing well in Senior Bowl practices, so I'm excited to see where he lands. And then I touched on it. This is not a Senior Bowl candidate, but someone to look out for. I touched on it, but I'm going to be taking Chase Brown whenever I can. I think he's going to be slipping. I don't know what's going to happen with the draft stock. We've seen teams take risks on players who are injured already. We've seen it tank their draft stock. It could go either way. I believe that Chase Brown's going to be not talked highly enough about throughout the offseason. And then early to mid-season when he comes back onto the field and he shows his raw athleticism and he shows why he was the rushing leader in NCAA football for a brief period this season, the value is going to hit a major spike. So those are my players I'm looking at.
All right, we do have a question here in the chat from another Babbage. He's wondering about Alexander Madison. Will he finally get out from Cook's shadow? What do you fellas think?
I'm still a Tykevius Chandler guy myself. And if Alexander Madison's going to stay on the Vikings, that may come in the way of matters a little bit, because Alexander Madison's still, 24 years old. And I talked earlier about Dalvin Cook's apex being behind him, and I'll stand by that. I think Alexander Madison, over the next 3 years or 2 years, if he stays with the Vikings, is the back you want to own in Minnesota. So I'll go yes. He will come out and get in front of Dalvin Cook at some point. I just don't know if his team changes at some point soon due to free agency. I don't know if I believe Alexander Madison is an RB1 in that case. So I've tried to avoid talking about Alexander Madison for some reasons today, and that's really why.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. It's just not a good sign that I agree with you that Cook's apex is behind him. And I think even Minnesota would agree with you, which is why it's really weird that Madison still can't get any opportunity unless Dalvin Cook physically cannot enter the game. If they wanted to give him looks, if they thought he was a guy who could be the guy, they'd start to give him looks. Even when David Montgomery came back from his injury, the Bears saw what they saw in Khalil Herbert, and they made sure to get him on the field more often. Even if it was just a little bit more often, they got him on the field when David Montgomery was there. And we never saw that with Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. And it makes me afraid that maybe they are Tykavius Chandler. They've been throwing a lot of darts at running backs year after year after year. They tried to get Kenny and Wangu. That didn't really work out. So it really, all that's a testament to their faith in Madison. So I think I'm a little bit lower on Madison than Ahaan is, even if he stays in Minnesota. But if he does stay in Minnesota, then I think that's probably his best option this season.
All right. Well, I think it's that time of the show where we plug some stuff. So, Ahaan, what you working on these days? What projects? What shows you on? What do you got to plug?
I have some things coming up with Player Profiler that are still to be declared / to be discovered. I don't know why. I think the / made it sound cooler than it actually was. I don't know why I separated it into discovered and declared. But the main thing I'm working on in the present is doing some redrafts for past NFL drafts. I'm starting with 2017. That article should be out within the next few days. The 2017 draft was interesting. Featured Patrick Mahomes, but after Patrick Mahomes at 1, it gets a little wild. So I'm working on that redraft right now. An article will be there soon. And as usual, I'm doing some betting research for, not just football for Player Profiler, but other sports as well. And that stuff can be found on my Twitter, and working a little bit with analytics with Dario and Player Profiler, so that we could get these rankings out soon, breakout finders coming out soon. So I'm excited for all that stuff and helping out any way I can with Player Profiler.
So much stuff coming in the pipeline, man. We had an announcement from Billy Muzio. We got an announcement from Theo Greminger this morning. It seems like we're about to get an announcement from Ahaan pretty soon. A lot of exciting things coming up here. So for me, besides, being on this podcast and annoying people every week, I've been tweeting more. So my followers, I'm sure my mutes have been going up over the past couple of weeks, which is fine. I'd rather you mute me than unfollow me. Keep the numbers up a little bit. I can at least keep appearances. I just actually, over the past couple of days, I gathered the data, all Player Profiler data for the main metrics that you see on player pages. Gathered all that for receivers since 2017. So that's usually where we start consistently tracking snap share and all the major metrics. So gathering all that data, firing up the code that I ran for running backs and adapting it a little bit for receivers. And we are going to be solidifying our guide to predictive metrics for running backs here next week. So I'm not sure. I got to get in touch with Seth on what's in the production pipeline, but looking to get that over to him to be able to throw in there early next week. So excited to get that series back into action.
Yeah. And as always, it's just like Bob Barker's get your pet spayed or neutered. I have to plug the writers of the Underworld. You can go to this site called playerprofiler.com. At the news and analysis section at the top. You click on that, you find all this work. Joe Beldner just published an article today, the top 5 skill positions in the draft and his comparisons for those. Very well done. Shout out to Joe, did a great job. So, but it just doesn't stop there. I mean, we got Ahaan writing articles. We got Matt Babich. Oh, here you go. Here's another article. Then we got Cody Carpentier with his mock draft. I mean, the Mel Kiper of Player Profiler. So we have all these guys, all these great analysts, and all of their work is right there in one spot for free on playerprofiler.com. Now, if you want to support us, like I mentioned and alluded to earlier in the show, you can sign up for the all-in package. If you just want the Dynasty stuff, I think you can just get the Dynasty stuff, but eventually you're going to want the all-in package with, the Dynasty rankings, DFS Dominator, all that stuff and much more. bonus content if you sign up for that, and that helps support us. That helps keep the machine running, and that puts people like Theo Greminger and Ahaan Rungta and Matt Babbage where they are, giving you great fantasy football analysis. So that's my plug. It's time for bold predictions. Ahaan, what's your bold prediction?
I can't follow up the Will Levis is going to dominate the NFL hype train, but I'll keep it light on this one. We talked about the Falcons. I feel like we talk about the Falcons very lightly every show so that we can focus on the Bears instead. I'll make this a semi-Falcon show for the next 30 seconds. We saw Jesse Bates at dinner with a bunch of Falcons, including Kyle Pitts and AJ Terrell. I'll take the bait. I'll say Falcons work very hard on their defense by signing Jesse Bates to play safety and also reaching a little bit to draft cornerback Kaylee Ringo from Georgia. Keep the hometown vibes going. That's a name that we haven't mentioned yet on the show. Cornerback Kaylee Ringo. There's a ton of cornerbacks that are decent in this draft, and sort of going along with this draft is kind of mid train. Kaylee Ringo is a name that has a large range of outcomes. And if you look at Cody Carpentier's mock draft, he goes sort of all over the place. But my bold prediction is they reach and make him the second cornerback off the board.
Wow.
I think my bold prediction is going to be that Ahaan's announcement is something about him leading Roto Underworld player profiler betting. That's just going to be, it's my bold prediction. We seem to be filling certain roles. I'm a guy who analyzes trends, so let's see if I'm right about that. My actual bold prediction for the NFL offseason, I touched on it a little bit, and I think this is bold because I believe in the Dynasty rankings, he is the 4th in his position in the rookie class. But speed kills, and a lot of these general managers, they love speed. And Keyshawn Boots' 4.37 speed is going to get him the Henry Ruggs treatment, and he's going to be the first receiver off the board.
Hey, you're not saying that that's correct. You're just saying it's going to happen. So I love it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. So I have to follow that, huh? All right. Well, I'm just going to do what I normally do and spout some Bears propaganda. Let's see here. Oh,
shit. Here we go again.
Oh my God. Hold on. No, this isn't Bears. I just had to remind myself. Aaron Rodgers. Man. Aaron Rodgers. Oh man. I saw a thing I think he's back with the Packers this year. Is that bold? Is that bold enough?
I do think that's bold.
I think he came out of the darkness and he saw the light. And I mean, it's like these two entities, Rodgers and the Packers, they're like the on again, off again boyfriend girlfriend relationship is so stupid. You guys are meant for each other. Like, just go back to Green Bay, win 9 games, barely make the playoffs, and then lose in the first round again. Like, that's what's going to happen. Okay.
Barely. I see what you did there. You made it a Bears show.
Yeah. Like I already said, the division's going to get flipped. It's going to flip it. And then the Bears are going to also, anyway, they might not make the playoffs, man, the Lions and the Bears. But Aaron Rodgers is going to go back to Green Bay. And if we can recycle this take, I just want to remind everybody, I think it was Jack Kavanaugh, wasn't it Jack Kavanaugh, that said Lamar Jackson to the Falcons? Imagine that for a second. Imagine that. Run that. I don't think they'd ever pass the ball.
Drake London truthers would be in shambles.
I mean, we haven't even gotten to the point where I start talking about how sad I am for Kyle Pitts yet. I mean, I could go on for 30 minutes about Kyle Pitts, man.
Was it my take? Senior football didn't like Aaron Rodgers to the Packers.
Senior football is not messing around. This is aggressive.
If you dislike the stream, our children starve. So think about that one, senior football.
Yeah, all of my children.
That's right. That's right.
Think about it for a minute.
It's okay. Aaron Rodgers, whatever. All right. I think that's it for us. Thank you, stream, for watching. Thank you for commenting. I tried to get to as many of those comments as I could. For myself, for my co-host Matt Babich, for Ahaan Rungta. That is all. Thank you again. Be good, everybody, and we will catch you next week. Go check out the mock draft that's probably going on right now. Cody Carpentier. Check that out. See you later.